On a hot summer day, Alice and her cute kitten Dinah were sitting on a tree branch. And under the tree, Alice's sister was reading the history book out loud. But Alice did not listen to her and was floating in her dreams. A world where rabbits wear clothes and live in small houses. Alice took Dinah and came down from the tree. At the same moment, she saw a white rabbit running away, holding a big clock tightly with its paws. "I'm late," Alice said in shock. "How accurate! What can a rabbit be late for?" And she shouted, "Please wait. I will come with you too." But the rabbit continued on his way and kept saying in a loud voice, "I'm late. I'm late," and disappeared in a big hole at the foot of the tree. Alice, whose curiosity was aroused, followed the rabbit, entered the narrow hole with difficulty, and began to move inside the tunnel on all fours. Alice suddenly felt that she had fallen from a high place and was falling rapidly, every moment lower and lower, but fortunately, her clothes filled up like a balloon and saved her from falling like a parachute. She was floating in the space of the tunnel and slowly moving forward along the length of the tunnel. On the walls of the tunnel, strange paintings could be seen. The furniture inside was also very strange. Finally, Alice reached the end of the tunnel. The white rabbit was at the end of a long corridor. The tall man who was in the corner of the tunnel hid again. Alice shouted, "Stop!" and ran after him. At the end of the long and narrow corridor, there was a very small door. Alice shook the handle. A voice said, "Hey!" This sound was from the door handle. Alice said, "I am looking for the white rabbit, please let me in." The handle replied, "I am sorry, you are too big, drink some of that bottle." Alice looked around and found a bottle that said, "Drink me." Alice first tried a few drops of it, and then drank it to the last drop. At that moment, Alice started to shrink. She became so small that he could easily escape through the small door. On the other side of the door, Alice was at the beginning of a large forest. Suddenly she saw the white rabbit again from far away among the trees and started running after him. But it wasn't long before two fat and dwarf men, who were completely similar to each other, stood in front of Alice, whose names were similar, and Alice also said her name. "I want to know which way the white rabbit went." Two dwarf men started talking at the same time. Alice could not understand what they were saying, so she decided to choose another direction to continue her movement. Alice arrived at the small house very soon. As she was going to the house, she saw the white rabbit that jumped out of the entrance door of the house. She was wearing a new dress, which was a blouse with a pleated collar. The rabbit shouted again, "Oh my God, I'm late! I'm late!" And he turned to Alice and said, "Go get my gloves." Alice was very excited because the rabbit had talked to her, and immediately went inside the house. Alice searched everywhere for her gloves, but instead of that, she found a glass containing some biscuits. The biscuits looked edible and delicious. Then she took one of them and ate it. Suddenly she started to grow, bigger and bigger, and soon he was bigger than the size of the house. Her hands were bigger than the windows.